very lightweight, and the way I created it, it's a half polystyrene foam ball. It's covered in masking tape. Covered masking tape, it won't melt the polystyrene. And I just added a bamboo ring on the bottom, glued it on, and then I started gluing on strips of flat cane. This is just a flat cane that you can buy on Amazon or Walmart, wherever. In strips, different thicknesses, different lengths, and just cut it into pieces, and that's how I created this. Really easy. And so I'm also going to use this material. This is agar-wool. I've never used it before. I had it. I've never quite used it. So I'm going to pass this around. This is in the agar-wool, so you can kind of take a look at it, feel it. We'll see how it works. And I thought I would start with a round arrangement. I don't love round arrangements because I've spent almost 40 years making lots of round arrangements. It's my least favorite at this point, but I think it's the most relatable, and I thought it was a good way to start, and also a way to start with a creative container, creative form. So I'm going to start with these cremones.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to move everything?
Sure.
Falling?
Sure.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much.
Can you talk about the mechanics of what you got in the bowl?
So what I did, I put the alcohol in the bowl. I know for a fact, because I've talked to other people who use it, and I've seen how they've used it. I added the Oasis mesh wire over it. You can use chicken wire just to keep it in place because it's not a completely solid material. It kind of has a lot of give. When I pass it around, you kind of see how it kind of moves. And I took wool and just used that mechanic to hold it all in place instead of using tape. For a couple of reasons, because I couldn't find my tape, because I rarely use it. So, now the first thing I'll tell you about using this, since it's my first time, is it needs to be really sharp to get into that wool.
Is there water already in it? I have seen people use chopsticks.
Yeah,
Like the whole,
but as long as you have a really good solid stem, you can probably go in there really easily.
You've been asked if there's water in the container.
There is water in the container. But I agree, the chopsticks would be a help to try to just guide things in, especially if you have stems that aren't going to be so solid.
That's bad.
Yes. But I soaked it in the bowl. The wire is just kind of pulled over the top, and I pulled the wool over just to hold it in place. If I had tape, it would be even more solid. So the question was, how did I keep the wire in place? And the wire is basically held in place by the wool. I pulled the wool in different directions and just tied it really tight. So it's basically holding that in place. And then once you start adding materials in, that's also going to kind of reinforce that. So I'm going to add in some of these pincushion tortillas, or glucosperma is the Latin name for these. And I'm kind of a minimalist on flowers. I don't like tons of flowers. Because I think, I've spent a career doing lots and lots of large-scale designs that take lots and lots of flowers, and sometimes I would think, oh, I could take that and break those flowers into 20 arrangements. So, here's where we're coming into that problem. So, The way you do it is take another stem that you know is going to work. Create a hole for it. Put that in. Okay. Same here.
Do you start out with a concept for each design, or you're just, or made this one before, or?
I have a concept. Usually I sketch everything out. When you sketch, you basically work out a lot of your details design-wise, and it helps you from basically making a lot of mistakes. If you don't sketch it, then you get everything together and you're experimenting, and then if it goes wrong, then you've kind of wasted your materials. If you have that idea already ahead of time, you've done half the work and you're not going to waste your materials because you know where everything's going to go. So for the dianthus, it's not in the best shape. I should know that if I'm doing something with red at Christmas time, then I'm not going to have the best flowers. It's kind of a sad thing, but it happens. You get growers and wholesalers that tend to hold flowers back for a while at Christmas, and so you can kind of tell. When I got the flowers in on Tuesday, I could kind of see the bottom of the stems were kind of dry, and I thought, okay, well, this probably is not going to be the best carnation that I could get, but just have to make do. This is an interesting material to work with. It's taking a little getting used to here, but it's not so bad.
Do you ever cover your mechanics first, or?
It's a way that I learned when I went into forestry. You read everything out very heavily, and that's the way I was taught. And I worked for some guys in Baltimore early in my career, and they worked in different ways. One, read everything out. The other, put flowers in first, and then add greens at the end. And that left a big impression because I realized, oh, you don't need as many greens because it's an accent.
Why did you use that instead of others?
I just wanted to try to use a more sustainable material, and I just wanted to experiment. Oasis does make something very similar to this. I would use it if I had it, just to try it. I'm not opposed to Oasis.
So if you're coming at Christmas and red flowers aren't available,
Mhm.
what would be an alternative that you would recommend?
We can always go into different colors. I mean, you get into some browns and golds are beautiful for Christmas. Like I love like a brown medium for Christmas designs. It's really, really beautiful. Jewel tones. You can get into purples and fuchsias. Yeah, jewel tones for Christmas I think is just gorgeous.
Do you think that the oasis with the copper wire needs to be camouflaged?
Can you,
Yes.
You do.
Yeah.
can you repeat her question?
She wanted to know if I needed to cover the Oasis or the foam in this. And yes. So the way I'm going to do that, is I'm just making a basic round arrangement here with not a lot of flowers. And I'm going to add these in.
And what is this?
This is curly pods. It's just a bleached pod that I bought in the Netherlands maybe 2 years ago. So they're pods, they're curly pods. I don't know what type of pods they are. It just says bleached. In Dutch, it says bleached curly pods. And nobody in the Netherlands can tell me what it is. I've asked, and they're like, it's H pods.
Big pots.
Good, I'll do that right here.
Can you save those and reuse them then?
Well, actually, these are some that I've already used once, and we're using them again.
Do you re-bleach them?
No, I don't think so, but we can try. I tend to save a lot of materials, I tend to use a lot of materials over again. In theory, with this design, it's not perfect, I would love to have more pots to cover better, but this is what I had pulled for today. But if I had more, I would cover it very heavily.